Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are reviewing a Masters, Zarya, and Roadhog player, off-tank. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate that. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, special events we have going on, all that good stuff. So, former GM, they haven't quite been able to recapture that for the last few seasons, though. Let's see if we can tune up their gameplay, get them back there. That probably is a case of, you know, GM got better, not they got worse, because I think they only took like a month off, but that's okay. Could be they got worse. We'll help them out either way. You're gonna go try to bait early fire around the corner. Yeah, okay. Excuse me? What? Excuse me? 75 ammo. 75 ammo when we're pushing forward. Why are we pressing the reload button? Why are we pushing the reload button? Hey Quackers, is this your gameplay? I don't know if you're Gavin or not, so you'll have to let me know. Okay, so again, we're going to take a quick look at this, and we're going to see that you went like this. This was reasonable. You expected to take more than the fire strike, and you did. The right click, it sucks that it missed. I don't care that it missed. I do care that there's tons of targets available to you when you're reloading. And the Reinhardt bubble is okay. He is trying to swing. He's going to continue advancing. The truth is, it was a little out of range there, but we understand the desire. Okay. Sure, you can turn to check there. Okay. Not a big deal. But that is. Again, why are we reloading? It's 13 ammo, and we can easily throw a right click here. And it's very predictable that people are going to try to advance through here. Like, this is a very high probability right click that you can spend this ammo on. This is a thing that you do as a rotating Zarya. Not my gameplay, just like VOD reviews, so he plays Hogs, hoping to get tips. You're only Diamond, any high-level reviews are helpful. Got it! We will cover Hog. I think it's more Hog in the second half, more Zarya in the first half, but we will cover both. That reload, on the other hand, was better. I don't love that, though. So you're going like this. You have 80 energy. I can live with this. Like, I can live with this. This is purely a poke bubble. This isn't a bubble that you're actually trying to accomplish anything with. You're putting serious pressure on the enemy. You're threatening an elimination with. I can live with it when you had 80 energy. But I'm not in love with it, because now you're not going to have it for using if your team actually pushes, and you're trying to really push with this. That's wild. Okay. And this is what I'm talking about. This is real. Your team is getting real with this push here. Your Reinhardt is actually going to want to go in. And you now can't off-angle as hard as I'd like you to because you don't have your personal bubble available. And you got 20 energy. You didn't get 40 energy out of it. Oh, it was a 40 energy bubble. No, it wasn't, because you were still at 80 energy. And I'm not saying don't bubble until you go down to 60 energy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But that was a questionable bubble, given that it was so likely that we were going to be in a real fight, like we're in now, where we could potentially off-angle, which lets us do more damage, which lets us threaten the more enemy team more seriously if we had that bubble up, and we'd have used it just a couple seconds later. Now, so 4 seconds later than we used it. And that would have been fine. We'd have still had plenty of energy, and we'd have probably still gone back up to, I mean, we almost certainly would have still gone back up to 100 off of it. Why are you reloading? You had 57 ammo.
Don't hold back.
And now you're off-angling because your bubble's about to be up. Okay. You're staying pretty aggressive for the situation. Like, your health went pretty low. Yes, you used your bubble, but you sort of needed to be backing out while you used your bubble to here, because that was 67 HP. Like, that is scary, and you guys did not have total control. wild. And they're the easiest thing to fix. I mean, they're not a super easy fix, but they're like a big enough deal that fixing them in your gameplay is going to help quite a bit. That's fine. So we have a question from Quackers. What makes a good charging bubble? Like how to save bubble and sleep and for hooks and cooldowns like that, but what makes a bubble a good move to use just to sustain and build charge? So it's the situation. If you're in this situation where at the very beginning of the match, when he had 0 energy, there was almost 0 chance that his team was just going to push in and fight. That would be a bad idea with how Zarya works at the beginning of the match, so it's perfectly reasonable to do a poke bubble, a bubble for energy, using your personal bubble just to get energy, because the team is unlikely to want to push before he'll have that personal bubble back again. And he does need to get his energy ramp going. Projected bubbles on Zarya, bubbles for poke, just bubbles for energy on Zarya, are less expensive than using projected bubble just for energy, though that can happen too in some situations if you don't think there's going to be an opportunity to enable a brawl before you'd have your bubble back. And a brawl bubble could be on your Reinhardt, a Doomfist, a Reaper, things like that. People who are going to be in there and going to be able to get offensive value of the bubble. It's going to protect them and allow them to attack as well as absorbing damage, because poke bubbles are really just absorbing damage by and large. So what you're looking for a good poke bubble would be the team isn't likely to engage. It is unlikely that anything brawly is going to happen, and there's also not something out there that you need to be saving your bubble for as an answer. And the most likely thing that you'd need to save your bubble for as an answer would be a Roadhog hook. Yes, you can use your bubble as an answer to a nade, you can use your bubble to block a sleep, you can use your bubble in theory to protect someone who's hacked, you can use your bubble in theory to peel for your backline. Those are all actually less likely and less valuable. You're not holding your bubble to do those things generally. You'll just use them if the opportunity presents itself, but the opportunity doesn't actually present itself that often in most playstyles, especially in most Zarya Rein playstyles, because your Rein, if they understand the game, is looking to give you an opportunity to use your projected bubble to enable him to swing basically as soon as you get it. So you don't worry too much about most of the out bubbles, with the exception of you really don't worry about them too much when you're playing with a Reinhardt as Zarya, because you're not outing to save people. You're actually looking to get full value out of your bubbles, both energy and aggressively with your projected bubble, which are your out bubbles. You're looking to do that basically as soon as it comes up in most situations. Now, it doesn't have to 100% be as soon as it comes up, because we did talk about, hey, there's situations where, like, this Zarya maybe should have saved her bubble to go like this. Not maybe, should have saved her bubble to go like this. That's less true of your Reinhardt bubbles or your projected bubbles, because your Reinhardt is able to go in sooner and get more total damage if he gets more total bubbles for swings, protected swings. Or same thing with your Doomfist or your Reaper, someone that you're using like that. I hope that answered your question.
Escorting the payload.
You forgot the most valuable time, Temporal, when your Mercy is rezzing? Haha, from our Mercy player. Yeah, it does have use for that. And if a Mercy rezzing situation presents itself while your bubble's available or about to become available, you're certainly happy to use it for that. But you weren't holding it and not bubbling Rein, or not trying to get your Rein or Winston to go create an opportunity where you could bubble them because the Mercy might res. It's only when that situation aligned itself, when your bubble's up or about to be up, that you're really getting to use it for that.
Yes, about time we got moving. Greetings. See through the
Something like that, yeah, Quackers. Yeah, you got him. You have to leave. You have to leave. That was scary. You got caught. I don't know that there's someone up there. Like, we have wall hacks and we can see, yes, the opposing Zarya's up there, but, like, I'm not bubbling my Reinhardt right now because he's not swinging his hammer. Yes, he's about to leave your sightline, so you're not going to have an opportunity to bubble him later, but you don't know what's still up here. because you know there was something up there when you went up there, and maybe that's what you're worried about. But there's a fair amount of stuff down here. You've got the Sonic arrow to show you that there's a fair amount of stuff back here. This is not an amazing bubble.
Barriers on you. Go.
Yeah, and he ends up getting some out of it, but not a ton. There you go. Well, yeah, if you're a Roadhog player, you can expand to off tanks in the future. Zarya's on the list. That's fine. Okay. We're not going to destroy the lamp from up here first. Like, we can probably destroy the lamp without them even paying attention to us, but okay.
Just a scratch.
So you're going to try to grab them sort of out of the lamp. When did you pop your bubble?
Just a scratch.
You have plenty of energy.
Bring it.
You don't want to get flashed, so you do this, but if you don't immediately eliminate the Kree...
Огонь по готовности.
Yeah.
Irresistible.
You either end up loving or hating players in your game, YS. They have only 2 modes, it seems. Feed your brains out to pop up for important picks. Okay, okay. Why? I'm going to point this out for a bit, but you reload at 50 ammo here. There's work you can do. You're not doing a ton of work because you have 0 energy, but there's work you can do with this remaining 50 ammo. Think of these as costing you 1 to 2 right clicks each. Each of these reloads, because of how long your reload takes, is costing you 1 to 2 right clicks. And then you do that, and then you hit another right click. You can absolutely throw a right click up at the Zarya, throw a right click over the car at the Reinhardt. Those are available to you. That's 2 reloads. We've given up effectively 3 shots here. That's just a little shallow. And this isn't the first time it's a little shallow. Like, I see that your Reinhardt is swinging, but I'm not remotely convinced that my Reinhardt is on top of the other Reinhardt enough yet to justify this. Like, your bubbles are going to more consistently get pressure into them, and your Reinhardt's actually going to get more value out of them. If he's wrong with his swing, I'm mostly going to say don't bubble him. Like, sure enough, he's kind of shallow. That swing didn't do damage. He got damage off that swing, but we'd like to get 2 damage swings, and he's more reliably going to get you 40 energy if he's in tighter. That said, you still got it here. You just only got 1 swing out of it. That seems wrong. You have personal. I thought you pressed it. No, it's his bubble. Okay. Okay. Obviously, you can protect yourself with personal bubble there. Why? Why are you reloading with 20 ammo? Oh, now we want to deal with the off-angling Zarya? Took her sweet time. Like, she's been here the whole time. Of course, we as Zarya, like you as Zarya understand that when you have projected bubble available, you can off-angle from your right. Even when you didn't, you were off-angling a little bit, which is fine. You were doing it in a safe enough way because you get more damage like that. Well, she's got herself a permanent off angle with a little bit of high ground. Like, this is great. Why were we not interested in clearing her much faster than we did? Why was it not a, hey, let me send a low energy right click or 2 at you to see if I can get your bubble, work on other people, maybe your Rhine Shield, and then go back to forcing her to leave? Like, you just pressed in here where it's like, oh, you're pressing in? Don't mind if I do. Zap you in the side, zap your back line. Like, you know the importance of an off-angling Zarya because you do it yourself, so don't let them. Again, deal with the Zarya, please, and don't reload here. The way Overwatch works, the team with more and bigger angles tends to win. Zarya is never going to take huge angles, not never, rarely going to take huge angles, but this Zarya is doing more damage to you than this Lucio. Part of that is because she's Zarya, but part of that is because Lucio's angle from their Reinhardt, if we establish Reinhardt as sort of the center of their core, is much smaller. Zarya's angle is much bigger than Lucio's angle. So if she has a bigger angle, she's likely to do more damage to you. So if you attack the people who have taken the biggest angles otherwise known as the most aggressive positions, you're going to either eliminate them or force them to run back to shallower angles towards core, which is going to reduce the incoming damage to your team. So you want to prioritize these targets that take fat angles like this. Okay, you don't have to shoot her bubble though. Like, okay, that's a bubble, so easy problem. We flick off of her and start melting her Reinhardt, and then we go back to her once her bubble's over. We know how long bubble lasts. We play her. We don't feed her. Why are we feeding her? If other people were attacking her, maybe we'd try to burst her bubble. But we're not just gonna hard try to burst her bubble when she's still got 80% life. Like, she's gonna get 40 energy off of that, and be able to use that 40 energy she got for that remaining 80% of her life. No.
Best shot.
Really? With the Doomfist right here, we're gonna shoot at the Tsar. Okay. Interesting decision.
Maximum charge. We need to get the payload moving. Maximum charge.
Okay.
We need to get the
Sure.
payload moving.
Great. Don't know why we're reloading at 39 ammo when there was plenty of things available to us to either beam or right click. Sure, you are getting aggressive because you have your personal. You had ammo, plenty to use, plenty of targets.
I'm on fire. I will lead us
Fine
to
reload.
victory. Graviton surge is ready.
If I could make a suggestion, we should get the payload moving.
Is that a Zarya only tip, or is it bad in general with any hero to reload early when you could be doing damage? It's not a strictly when you could be doing damage thing. There's times where it's like, hey, you have 20 health left, you're gonna go behind cover to wait to get healed, and you might reload during that time, even if you opened your angle, you could do damage with your remaining 40 ammo. But yeah, it generally applies to heroes of, hey, if there's people in your sight lines where there should be people in your sight lines, like if you're looking this way and there's an opponent over there and you clear all the opponents this way and then you hit the reload button and you start getting shot from here, or there was an opponent who was here, you made a mistake. You should have checked the other angle that was open before you reloaded. On the other hand, like I said, around health stuff, you can totally go, I have 75 ammo and I'm going to hit a reload, and the reason I'm doing that is because there's no opponents available to me. Or I'm low health and I need to get healed and I've closed the angle on everyone. I could open the angle and shoot at them, but I'm worried I'm going to get deleted if I do so. So while I'm sitting here closing the angle for defensive reasons, I'm going to reload. But no, not a Zarya only tip. You can absolutely lob more. Oh, so many reloads. So many reloads when good right clicks are available. I see the Reinhardt. I could shoot at the Reinhardt. I could also shoot at the Zarya to try to get her to personal bubble immediately and then stop shooting at her. And that's going to cause her, once that's over, to not feel comfortable keeping this angle anymore. And she's going to go back. Or if she still feels comfortable, I'll put a little damage on her and then she won't feel comfortable. And then she'll go back and then she'll do less damage because she won't be able to shoot at us around the Reinhardt shield. Put pressure on the off-angle target.
Get in.
You don't have projected form. Questionable one, and you can do it with that, right? Okay. Sure. All good. I'm gonna try DPS because I think it'd be easier to frag, but I just fell in love with Mercy because I started playing before 222. Yeah, I hear you. So I had to play to maximize win chance. You wanted to not be 5 DPS. I get it. I get it. Well, no, Quackers. Quackers says, okay, so characters like Zen who can get eliminated quickly while peeking reload more than characters like Hog or Orisa, who, when they are in sightlines, will always be shooting. Clip size matters. Like, Hog has 5 shots in his clip, Zen has 20 in his clip, so you're probably going to end up reloading more on Hog than you are on Zen. You're also going to be more conscious still of your ammo on Hog than you are on Zen, because you don't want to end up in that situation, which is very easy to do, where you try to right-click hook, left-click a tank, but whoops, you only had 1 shot, so you right-click hook, nothing. Them. So Hog is a little bit more around, hey, he has to deal with the realities of his weapon, and he might intentionally go behind cover to reload with 1 ammo in his clip because he's rapidly losing effectiveness. The difference in effectiveness between a Zarya who has 75 ammo in her clip and 40 ammo in her clip isn't that much. Yes, you're more likely to be able to win a duel. Don't get over focused on duels, but win a duel if you have 75 ammo in your clip than 40, or 100 than 40. But it's not a big difference, and you don't want to constantly be reloading because you'll create a problem for yourself. Hog, however, has 5 shots, and Hog with his 5 shots needs to make sure he doesn't mess up and hook someone without the ability to do damage to them. That's like a big deal. So Hog might, when he's only missing 100 health, so that's out of 600 health, might go, I'm only missing 100 health, but I've only got 2 shots left. And I'm about to go in on a flank, so let me go in on this flank and intentionally leave the main fight to go flank, and while I'm taking the flank, I'll reload type thing. Okay. Okay, so back to our Zarya here. Again, that reload was fine. You don't expect anyone to be on your screen. By the way, I feel like I never get to see these. These are fun. Like, a relatively high-level game where both teams understand the importance of high ground enough to be like, yeah, we're going to fight over this bridge. Like, we're going to fight over the high grounds. But both teams are also going, we're going to play Rein Zarya Brawl. So we're like, we're fighting over bridge, which is great, as opposed to one team caving and going, okay, well, we're just going to play heroes that can actually take high ground like Winston. Like, this is... like, usually if you see the forced Rhine lock on both sides, it's a lower level game where they don't actually understand this and they're trying to fight over mid. So this is fun to see multiple pushes in a row. But no, not what I'd recommend. I would recommend swaps. Wrong Reinhardt. Wrong Zarya, rather. That's amazing. Okay.
Огонь по готовности. 60 seconds.
I got distracted by shenanigans. Trying to deal with the Reaper. You're kind of low energy to chase down a Reaper that you haven't damaged. Yeah. You go for that. You're playing Window Wars. You're now going to bubble in front. You throw your grab. Why did you drop? You didn't get booped. That's just a mechanical mistake. You threw your grab in. You have your bubble, which will both shield a little bit of damage for your team on a very predictable pathway, because most of the damage is coming on this very predictable pathway. And you're not going to be able to follow up on your grab very well. Like, it's a fraction of a moment that your bubble's going to protect, but you did want to get that. I know you don't have a ton of health behind you, and you feel like you're going to more reliably be able to throw right clicks in. Don't you dare
Let's
reload.
keep this moving.
I was thinking you were going for the fadeaway. I'm going to drop, and I'm going to go like fadeaway shot into with the right clicks into this, and I'm going to arc it over this to have them land in the grab. But I want to make sure I'm alive with my energy to do that. But no, you reloaded, and I'm no, no. Yeah, I was this close to ripping off the headset. That was
60 seconds.
I mean, you grabbed for nothing. If you're not going to bubble to protect your team during the very narrow sight line that the opponents have to shoot down, if you're not going to drop to protect your own life while you then lob right clicks up there so that you don't lose a moderate energy Zarya that is a percentage of the damage you need for that grab to work, what's the point of grabbing? Temporal off topic, but do you think anyone could get to Masters? I don't think anyone could get to Masters. I think humans do have different abilities, and there are people with sometimes actual disabilities that would make that very difficult, and sometimes just things that we may not categorize as disabilities, but are going to be really hard to overcome in terms of reaction times, thinking about it, etc., and how much time are they really allowed to spend on it? Like when we say anybody, are they allowed to is this mythological anybody, regardless of their skills, their natural tendencies as an individual human being? Are they allowed to spend 50 hours a week on Overwatch and Overwatch related things, or do they have to balance it in a normal life that, provides an income that they can live off of? Like what are we looking at here? Because my answer is probably no. If we're not excluding people with disabilities that would make that rather hard, or some things like just terrible reaction speeds, etc., that you can train away some of that. You can train them to preempt situations, but it matters. Or really bad hand-eye where it matters. And you can make it better, but people do have individual calibers to them, and how long do they get to train? Like that, I need more parameters for that question. Like an average person playing 10 to 15 hours a week. Yes, absolutely. The average person can absolutely get to Masters if they... Well, 10 to 15 hours a week is a little light, perhaps, for Masters, but the average person can do it. If we're looking at like the statistical mean or median, they can do it no problem. 10 to 15 might be a little light on the hours that they need to put into it, but if they really did it in a dedicated, focused way, their training, that would be enough to make it work. Yes. But it really does need to be a dedicated, focused manner. It needs to be, hey, I am intentionally playing, very much working on the topic that I am trying to work on. For this player, I am working on fixing my reloads on Zarya. Like that is something that I am actively working on fixing, on doing. That is what I'm going to do. It's going to be fantastic. And then once I've got that fixed, I'm very actively and purposefully going to work on the next thing. Like we are doing very purposeful improvement. And if as soon as I feel like I've got that next thing locked in, I'm going to look through my replays and I'm going to have made my list of things that I could potentially work on, and I'm going to select the next thing to work on. And if I'm stumped or it doesn't feel like anything on my list is terribly valuable, then I'm going to go seek some educational content, or I'm going to go get a session from someone like Temporal who's going to be like, hey, this and these are the most important things. And then I'm going to use that to work through. But it's going to be a very focused improvement thing. It's not going to have a lot of playing through tilt. It's not going to have a lot of, hey, I'm just playing for fun or I'm just playing for friends. It's not going to have a lot of, hey, I'm warming up and quick play type stuff. Like it might have focused warm-ups, but it's going to be like I'm doing this focused thing to work on MAME, or I'm doing this focus thing for warm-up that tends to work pretty well for me. It's not going to have a lot of, right now I'm intentionally trying to push for my new season high. We're almost completely going to eliminate this because we're going to hugely be focused on improvement if we were trying to make the average person with 10 to 15 hours a week reach masters. But it's doable for the average person, absolutely. Um, but guys, like I do want to be careful. The average person, yes, and most people are going to fall into the average because the distributions for human beings is not like 20%, 20%, sorry, 20%, 20%, 20%. It's not like that. Like the average for humans on most things is like this. We've got small tails and big stuff in here. And most of the people in here can go hit masters if they do it right and they're willing to do it right. But most people don't want to do it right. Most people want to relax and chill and have fun, and they're playing somewhat for fun and maybe somewhat for improvement, and they get some enjoyment out of improving, but they're not willing to do what it takes to go, no, that was a garbage game because I didn't get any value out of it. Like I needed to be harder focused on my concept, or I got baited into getting a fight with this person and now I need to go prove that I'm right or something. Like, nope, that wastes time. Some of the stuff over here is not going to be able to, but most human beings do not fall over here. Humans overwhelmingly fall in an average category on most traits that would be necessary for Overwatch or to perform high at Overwatch. Would it help if you had like, some of the best reaction time, some of the best hand eye, some of the best spatial awareness? It absolutely would, and it would make it easier to get over here. But Masters is top 3%. That's not like that's high, that's good, like objectively that's good, but that's not 4600, which is where those things start to come in, where it's like, okay, you actually kind of need some of this stuff. You actually kind of need to have gotten a little bit in terms of this, and we need to stack it correctly with, are you doing the right health things in terms of exercise, sleep, etc. That's it. Everyone benefits from exercise, health, etc. because rig the deck in your favor. Absolutely do it. Okay, sorry. Back to our hog here.
Let's get passed up.
Like an average person. Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Good, good. It should be YS. Like that. That should be what you want to hear, and it's the right answer. Like the average person can. Yes, it's crazy to see how micro the problems become as you go higher in the ranks. It really shows the sheer amount of errors we make in lower elos. Yes. They could join his Discord and see where rates are available. There you go, James. James has it. Do you think the average person 10 to 15 hours a week could get top 500 then? Do I think the average person could? I think the average could do masters in 10 to 15 a week. Do I think the average could do top 500 was my threshold in 10 to 15 a week? Yeah. Yeah, I think the average person could. I don't think the average person actually wants to. Like they want it, but they don't want to do the work to do it. They want to relax and enjoy their game after work, after school, whatever, a little more than that. And I'm not saying that people who are improving are how do I want to phrase this? Yes, I think the average person can reach top 500 still. I would not go out there and say every player in the world can reach GM because statistically that's of course impossible all at once. And again, what I got into, if some people are going to have gotten really bad luck in the lottery, or they're also, or they're going to have bad internet connections, bad specs, and they just can't, that's going to be really tough, etc. Though those in theory, I suspect most of you would say, well, discounting that. But yeah, some people do have stuff where it's like their spatial awareness is really bad and they can train it to make it better, but there are limits to how much they can train it to make it better as a thing. Their sense of, can they track where 12 people are in the game, and it's going to just be really hard for them to get to a level where they can do that. And all of us do that to some degree, some better than others, and you can train it to make it better, but people are different. And even if they can train it, can they do it with the prescribed amount of time you're giving me, which is 10 to 15 hours a week, while other people are also getting better at the game at the same time. Because that's the thing, there's a bit of a hamster wheel aspect of, again, it's not get to the level that is Masters right now, it's get to the level that is Masters by the time you can get to it. And it's a moving target because the ladder is improving, and you need to improve faster than the ladder is improving. I lied. Anyone will be able to, because they'll be able to do it in Overwatch 2 when we get an influx of players. Anyone would be able to do it at the Overwatch 2 rollover, because that will cause an influx of players, which will force everyone who's been training, been good, etc., up the ladder a little bit, because the number of players in the game will increase, and you might find even silver is getting pushed up, because the average player will join at gold. But they may join at gold, but that's actually going to push silver players up, or that's going to push, plat players up, whatever, and that may do it, if you were dedicatedly training the whole time. Nice, yes. I'm happy to hear that you feel how you think about the game changed after just 3 sessions. Lots of otherwise average people are top 3% in something. Right. That's true, James. I don't disagree. It's okay. Don't worry about it. He's still gonna get his VOD review. You guys can ask questions. I need to know this answer since top 500 is my goal. I want to. Yeah, it's doable. Most people like the idea of grinding improvement more than actually committing to it is the thing. Right. You can tell the people with bad spatial awareness they have broken taillights on their car. There you go. There you go. So I can think of myself as being Masters already in Overwatch 2. Yes, I don't know what rank is going to be pushed up to Masters, but yes. Your top 1% in typing speed? Okay, okay. Okay, so we go for a hog hook. That was what? Zarya's not looking at you. Reinhardt's looking at you. This is clearly a trained reflex. You just have trained yourself to have this reflex. If I hook someone, I eliminate them, and I breather and I walk out. I'm totally fine with you walking out right now. There is no good reason to be breathering. Based on the information that you had, we don't want to just spend breather just because we're leaving. Like, you're missing 19 health, and Zarya's not even looking at you. The only thing that could really be scary to you is a Reinhardt pin, which would cancel your breather anyways, and so you'd much prefer to have your breather on the other side of the Reinhardt pin. Ha! There you go, Blah. There you go. To here. Yeah, this is already probably going to be really tough to solve. You got Rod Roll there. You don't have hook to punish this ball. You're going to force the reload here, which is okay. I'd have said spend the shot first. The reason I'd have said spend the shot is the time you have left on your hook cooldown. But that's okay. Yeah, see, your shots are back and your hook's still on cooldown. I can live with breather. I'd have preferred you turned your head away. And you basically have to eliminate Reaper. Like, for you to win this fight, you have to eliminate Reaper. So you need to either right-click, hook, left-click him, or right-click to force Wraith and then hook, left-click him. No, this is not an option. And the reason this is not an option is because you are going to lose this fight if Reaper doesn't get deleted. Like, the only way you're going to find your way back into this fight is to massively decrease the damage that's incoming. And while Tracer might be enough to do that, getting rid of Reaper when you guys have to play on the point, as you do in this overtime situation, is the only way that you can do it. So you cannot afford to spend your big cooldown that is your best chance at eliminating Reaper on anyone but Reaper or possibly D.Va. And I don't like spending it on D.Va. You may now have to spend it on D.Va, because if you don't hook D.Va, D.Va's likely to cancel your elimination of Reaper. Like, to be perfectly honest, you needed to eliminate Reaper before D.Va showed up. And you needed to be thinking about, how am I going to use my hook to do that? Yeah. Yeah, you just lose. Okay, so are you going to play Hog or Zarya in the next round? I thought when I jumped through I saw, like... Oh, you might be Hog for the rest of it. Okay, that's fine. So, if you're done with Zarya... No, you're not done with Zarya?
We are strong.
You are done with Zarya. So the things that I'm going to want you to work with on your Zarya are, I want you to fix your reloads, and I'm sure you saw that immediately when you started seeing my review of this, that your reloads were going to be a problem. I'm sure you're now like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize my reloads were so bad. I need to fix that, and you'll be able to fix that. That's fine. Just be very conscious about focusing on them when you're playing Zarya. You want to hit the reloads when there's no targets available to you, and there shouldn't be any targets available to you. You don't want to reload just cuz. The second thing I'm going to want you to work on, Zarya, and this will help you with your Roadhog too, this will help you in general in Overwatch, but it's something that you get a lot of chance to do on Zarya, is you want to bully the targets on the off angles, especially the targets on the short off angles, like the other Zaryas, more so than you want to just shoot at the Reinhardt that's directly in front of you. Shoot at the targets on the slight off angles to make them rejoin their Reinhardt, and you will discover that you and your team magically take less damage. That's the second thing that I'm going to want you to work on. But I do want you to work on your reloads first on Zarya. Okay, let's continue with our Hog here.
Statistically speaking, I usually get most of my team back alive, but who's counting?
General question, what common issues seem easy to fix but actually aren't? Reload can be one of them, because reload becomes such a habitual thing and it's one of the harder habits to break. Fortunately, you can cheat a little bit with reload and temporarily rebind the key. You have to actually still focus on it while you rebind the key, though. You can't let rebinding the key be the entirety of the solution. You actually need to get it fixed before you adjust to that new key. Other questions that seem easy to fix but actually aren't. Other things that are in that category. BAP shifts, for some reason, they're super common. They don't get fixed super quickly. I think that's another one of those things where it's just too habitual to use them when your team is taking damage and you're like, oh, God, let me go do this, etc. When no, it's generally better on yourself. There's situations to do it for your team, but it's much more rare than the average BAT player. What's another good one? Those are the two that jump to mind, as like people try to fix them and they seem conceptually like they should be easy to fix, but people actually struggle and have to put more time than you might expect into specifically fixing them. I could probably do more, but I'm not going to freeze the VOD to do more because those are the ones that really jump to the front of my mind. Oh, excess jumping can be there. Yes. Yes. Would excess jumping be a bad habit that you have to fit? And mindset, definitely. But that doesn't see. I don't think anyone has an illusion that that's easy to fix, is the thing, James. I don't think that qualifies, because I don't think very many people have the illusion that fixing mindset is an easy fix. It's not.
How y'all doing? Hey.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers in.
Speaking of excess jumping.
Defend objective A.
Try to keep yourselves in one piece. I don't mind an easy ride.
I don't really want to be here. Like, no. My core is set up here. By being here, The only thing I'm really good for is if these guys rolled out on full dive and like jump up onto us, yes, I am annoying. I will be able to punish their monkey. I will fight their flankers potentially well by being here. But you know how else I could fight their flankers? I could start like more over here-ish and be threatening from an angle, or I could even start like here-ish and be pretty darn confident that I can get out with breather if I have to. There's very few things that would punish me from getting out with breather if I don't give my position away early. Or I could control this, and again, I'm pretty confident I can get out with breather and go for the health pack if I need to, or at least get myself out here where my team can support me. Like, I don't really want to stack here. And even if they are running something divey, like, oh, I stopped a flanker from going this way. I stopped a flanker from going this way, so I've contributed. So I just don't want to stack here, like, at all. Yeah, that's hard to fix. It's hard to fix the belief that their mindset is okay or that they don't tilt when they actually do. That's hard to fix, I agree, James. Like, you were never going to land this hook because you sent this hook from the direction that your entire team is standing in while they still had resources. Like, Reinhardt has plenty of shield left. Zarya has a bubble, and a bubble ultimately gave you trouble there. Like, this was so much more likely what if you'd been here and you'd been like, oh, that's too scary. I'm going to leave and go over here. Now what are they going to do? Are they going to come around and punish you? No, they'll get pulverized by your team as they try. Are they going to rotate across? No, because they'll be in the crossfire between you and your team. Like, imagine how much this rotation would be basically impossible if you'd been standing here unless you let yourself get caught and eliminated in here. Because you go out here and they get destroyed if they try to push you. And if they try to push on to point, they get destroyed because you get to shoot them in the back. Like, yes, they tactically have the ability to go Reinhardt shield this way while all 6 rotate and push you, and they could catch you with Lucio speed, and that would be a bit of a problem, but, like, still so much better than what you're doing here. Like, you'd have so much easier of a time landing hooks from a different direction. No. Okay, you have 4 shots left. I can't shoot right now because I reloaded. That sucks, and my hook is off cooldown, so I want to be able to shoot right now. Fine. Sure. You don't have breather, you do? Yep. That's fine. They lost the front of the fight when you got knocked away. I mean, they lost the front of the fight when you knocked away because you didn't get enough value early fight because you were stacked on core without a good reason. But, you know, after you got knocked away, you were appropriate in how you came back. It didn't make sense to wait for breather, and you did what you needed to. Okay. So D.Va's now your priority. Really? Why did you not? D.Va's your priority. Like, she is. So we're going to send a right click at her, and if she DMs it, we don't care. But we're looking to go right click, hook, left click, and hope that demechs her. And it might not, but that's fine. It'll do a ton of damage to her, and her team will struggle to repair. You don't really have to worry about this window where you're positioned right now, and D.Va is the one you want to deal with, because if you don't deal with her, if you try to hook Lucio, if you try to hook Reinhardt, a D.Va's going to magically show up and make your hook not get value. So, like, she's who you're looking for, but you just let that go. Is it because you were trying to bait her into this? If that was the plan, but why are you running? Like, there's no need to run. You baited her into a bad situation. Why are you still running? Like, this is great. the diva. Like, take the 3v1. Ah, okay. Okay.
Get in here.
This is not your time.
You don't have hook. I can live with it, sure. Okay. Nice. Good recovery. That was a hard hook. That was a hard hook to follow up on, I should say.
Hello.
Why did you... Oh. Really?
Hello.
Okay. Angle. Angle. That's not an angle. That is not an angle. Fine reload. Okay. I actually don't want to spend my hook right now, truth be told. And I have no idea why you're spending your hook. Is it because you think he's going to shatter this instant? Like, I have no idea why you're hooking him. I don't want to spend my hook because my hook is going to be more valuable once some more of this temporary health has come off. If I hook someone, I'm not convinced that we can confirm an elimination, and I'm definitely not going to hook Reinhardt because Diva is going to do Diva things, which she's already doing to make it not happen. And even if Diva somehow messes up, Lucio is probably going to roll up here and boot me to try to mess up my hook. So, like... This is my real target, but I don't want this target until a little bit more of this temporary health is gone. Because Diva's a dicey target, like, it's just hard to eliminate Divas. Even the right-click, hook, left-click isn't going to be like, oh, we got Diva for sure, unless you get some help. So I definitely would like to be like, I will happily wait another 1.5 seconds before I go for my hook for that to fade, because it's an 8-second cooldown. So waiting an extra 1.5 seconds, not a big deal. I don't know why you'd go for Reinhardt here. Like, unless there's some plan of, like, I'm going to hook so my Rein can shatter, but, like, your Rein doesn't have a good shatter angle. Just no. I think what actually happened is you panicked through that hook because you wanted your hook on cooldown before you used Whole Hog, and you wanted to use Whole Hog as the answer to beat. But if that's the case, I still wanted to, maybe you don't hook Diva in that situation, maybe you hook Lucio, it's going to get eaten. Diva's not going to let you, but I could understand why maybe you don't want to hook Diva in that situation because you don't want her right in your face when you start your Whole Hog. Maybe. Oh, you turned your head away from this that time. Nice. I think that's a fair observation, Semitic. I think he didn't realize when he needed to deal with the Reaper on Hog at the end of first, and I think most of the rest of the time he hasn't realized that Diva is the key to unlocking his ability to do things. Yes, that is what's going to happen more and more the higher you go. Oh, I hooked Reinhardt. Oh, look, the pink robot, who's blue and white this time, showed up and made sure my hook didn't get value. And now she's going to fight me at close range, and she's quite happily going to eliminate me. That was a terrible trade for you. You have to hook the pink robot, even when they're not pink. Okay, that's right.
Out of my way! Come on, I got team time to make.
You should be at peak performance levels.
Light them up.
Hey Temporal, I was the McCree you VOD reviewed 2 days ago. I climbed 250 SR in 1 day after focusing on cover and off angling. Really appreciate it, man. Excellent, excellent. I'm happy to hear that, Brian. Glad it worked out so well for you. Just try to maintain the focus and really make sure those stick as habits in your gameplay. Don't be like, oh, I did these for a couple days and now it's great. Make sure that they actually stuck in your gameplay. If they didn't, keep the focus on them. If they did, move on to the next thing. If you don't know what the next thing is, well, you can join my Discord, see my coaching rates. You get the idea. I have a couple questions about off angling. Let me get to that at the end because we're almost at the end here. Coming out. It's a disadvantage situation. You have a free hook right now because she's meching and you could potentially hit it. You don't hit it. So now you have to go back to her as your mech target. Good. Right idea. Was that? Yeah, that was their tracer and you just instantly pressed pull hog, or you instantly pressed pull hog without being sure whether the pulse bomb would hit you or not. I'd have wanted to have the option to breather. Okay, they're knocked away, turn left. Yeah, okay.
Heroes never die.
I am on fire! Come here and get burned.
Okay. We gonna control the angle? I can live with high ground, sure. Why are you? Oh, you're jumping to try and hit shots. Okay. It's fine. Okay. Okay. So this was good. You pulled their Reinhardt out of their group, ahead of their group, and into your concave. Like, this is good, and I like this. But I'm worried if this is something that you've done a few times, and it's good, and that's why you're so willing to pull Reinhardt. Like, what makes this different is that it's actually a fair bit further away from his team than a normal hook that you've pulled him because of this falling situation. And this diva is like, oh, shoot, I might not be able to catch and save that. That's not... Like, I wonder if this is a tech you learned. The thing about this is you don't want to end up in the situation where it's like, I'm always shooting for this tech that works 2% of the time. No, you want to use it in the 2% of the time that makes sense. And maybe there's no correlation whatsoever with your wanting to hook Reinhardt when he's here and Diva's here and Lucio's here. But, like, if there's a correlation, if it's because you've done this type of thing before, realize that this is a specialty thing where you're using, hey, they're advancing, they do not have angle control because they all had to advance across that narrow bridge, and I'm able to drop and pull him across high ground so he gets further away from his team, or into a fall so he gets further away from his team than usual, into my own team. Like, this is like, yes, I like it a lot. But this is really rare that you can do this. And I just hope that, like, you having done this once or twice hasn't caused you to go, well, this is objectively good, so I should hook Reinhardt's. Because, like, you don't try for this very often. You take this when the opportunity presents itself, or presents itself is a strong word because you had to recognize an opportunity that most players probably wouldn't have recognized that was there to do that. And this is really cool, but be aware that, like, don't play to get this when this isn't to be there to be had. Maybe you're not. Okay. Breather. Yep. Flash. Yep. Nothing you can do. I mean, in theory, you could have said, forget it, I'm going to hook him instead, but he could have interrupted that with flash as well. Okay, so we talked about your Zarya. With your Zarya, it was going to be reloads. Those matter. And it was also going to be punish the off angle. Punish the off angle player to make them rejoin. That might be Zarya, that might be McCree, that might be Mei, whatever. Make them rejoin. With your Hog, we need to understand a couple things a little bit differently. With your Hog, we still would like to punish off-angle players and do all that, but once they add the D.Va is a problem that we have to solve. We have to solve the D.Va. We have to either see that she's too far away and she doesn't have boosters because we saw her waste boosters, we heard her waste boosters on something else, which means we have to mentally track her. So I was talking earlier in this game in answer to another question about players and the ability to spatial awareness to just track 12 players in a game. People build that out to different degrees. They build it out different number of players at a time. They build it out to different levels of precision at a time. You need to, when you're playing Hog, have a high level of awareness specifically around their D.Va. You need to sort of have I might be sort of tracking their Tracer, sort of tracking their Lucio, but I'm tracking their D.Va mentally harder than I'm tracking some other things, like where my Mercy is, or where their Tracer is, or where their Lucio is. I'm tracking that harder because I need a more precise understanding of what her status is, whether she has boosters available, eventually whether or not she has DM available can get in there, how far her boosters can take her, where she is, those sorts of things. Because there are times when you can be like, nope, I'm just going to delete their Ana real quick because D.Va can't save her. But most of the time, you're playing a game to go, once I solve this D.Va problem, and that's usually going to be by demeching her, and you can use your your hook to do it. That's perfectly valid. Once I solve this D.Va problem, then I can play the game and actually win the fight. We've done most of the work to win the fight, in fact, if I solve this D.Va problem. But D.Va's existence makes her the first layer in the defense that you have to peel off before you can get to the nice, soft, squishy blue team to take apart there. Once you get rid of this layer of defense, nice, soft, squishy blue team. With it there, no good. But that's okay because we can work on it. We can attack the layer of defense directly. That's really actually important for playing Hog, for understanding Hog, for doing what you're trying to do. So that's going to be the important thing I'm going to give you for your Hog. The other thing that I would get into Hog, you'll benefit on Hog from understanding this Zarya thing about punishing angles, especially when D.Va isn't there, which hopefully will be some games. But the other thing that I'm going to give you separately for Hog is going to be you do have to understand your solutions a little more directly too. Hey, there was this D.Va, and that was the solution that you had to do most of the time for most of this match. But on your first round attack there, where you couldn't leave points, you had to recognize that I have to solve this Reaper. I have to get that value with my hook. I have to spend my hook on that. Spending it on Lucio is simply not a valid option. And I don't want to get too hard into that because it's not a super common thing, but you do need to understand when it's well, I have to have my hook to solve a specific problem is a thing. You have to know what you're trying to do. Sometimes you can just go, jolly Roadhog, walks around, hooks people, eliminates them. It's great. But if you do too much of that, D.Vas show up. But beyond the D.Vas showing up thing, sometimes you need to go, I have to solve a specific problem for my team. That might be a Bastion. That might be a Reaper. And yes, your lethality, it does make you a good solution for that. You don't always have to solve Reaper, but in a situation where all of you have to go to point, you have to be able to solve that. And again, I'm really hesitant to give that to you because it's kind of a niche thing, but again, this is such an overwhelming thing for you that focus on this. This would be the main thing I'd give you for Hog. I gave you 2 Zarya things. Both of the Zarya things are then going to be more important than this now recognize other things that you have to solve with your Hog. And we could get into other things in your Hog. Some of your reloads don't make sense with hook timings. But the answer to this game is for you to be oh, I need to deal with D.Va. To the Hog side of this game anyways. Okay. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate that. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, special events we have going on, anything like that. Okay, so let me catch up on chat here, because I deferred that because we were approaching the end of the game. Okay, so Brian, our McCree from a couple days ago, says, I have a couple questions about off-angling. When the enemy team has a lot of flankers, like Ball, Doomfist, etc., should I be staying with the backline to heal, peel, or still find off-angles that are not as aggressive? Ah, yes. Thank you. You did make a comment, and I wasn't able to get to that one. So I'm happy to answer that here. So when the enemy team has a lot of things like Ball, Doomfist, Tracer, and you're in this like, well, do I peel? Do I take angles? Because I'm supposed to take angles. So taking angles wins games. Taking angles absolutely wins games. And the truth is, you can preemptively punish if you understand what Doomfist rollouts are, you can preemptively punish those. If you understand how rollouts work and how map geometry works, you can actually separate from your team a little bit, especially while the ball is far away, and get poke damage done to him and his team before he starts to get close. And then as he gets closer, you can work your way back closer to your team to peel for your team. So what the actual answer is your Zen is back here, and you sort of have your off angle. That's too far away. Your Zen is back here, you have your off angle over here, and the other team is still working their way in, and you're getting your poke damage on an off angle. And then as they start to get closer, you might go, oh, hey, you're basically staged, and I wasn't able to poke you enough to stop you from staging, so now I'm going to pull myself back to a distance where I can protect my Zen. But that requires the spatial awareness of where's their ball? Where's their Doomfist? Where's their Tracer? When there's one, it's not too hard. When there's more, it's harder. And when there's more of them, you're probably, as a result of it being harder to track them, more generally going to play a little tighter on your person. But that means you'll get less poke done, which means the dive will hit harder when they show up. So that's a bit of a juggling balance act, a juggling act, balancing act. It's a bit of a tough one, but don't just completely, or understand that the long-term solution is not to just completely, well, I'll always just stack on my Zen to protect him from these threats. There is a more advanced solution that involves I have my angle and I retreat sort of back to my team as they're getting into a stage setup, as they're getting more aggressive. So that's a skill that you work on, but that is the solution. YS says your McCree aim is dirty, Brian. Please come into his plat games and keep eliminating plated Genjis. That was good. You were feeling it that game. Okay. Yeah, Whole Hog is a pretty battle. It's one of the reasons why we try not to prioritize Breather for healing. We prioritize Breather for its damage reduction if supports are available. Kovacs is getting you more consistency, or you feel it is. Okay. Mercedes says, when learning to ult track, should I prioritize quality or quantity? Quantity. So you do not need to be perfect. The evolution of the meta of ult tracking is we would much rather you call that. We would much rather call that you have McCree ult when they're only at 85% than you tell us they're at 79% ult or 82% ult. We would much rather, for an actual ult tracker on a team, it is much better to go, they have high noon, they have window, and if fight goes long, no. It would be much better in this situation if we were blue team to call, they have high noon and window. That's what we would want. We might call, if fight goes long, they'll have whole hog and shatter, but we probably wouldn't because those are pretty far away. If we thought these were around somewhere between 40 and 60%, we'd probably ignore it. If they get up into like, we think they're internally, we think they're like 70, 80%, we might call if fight goes long, or they'll get is sometimes the call out that gets made. But we would much rather, we would like it just to be called that they have these two ults. We are not generally looking for the, hey, if we force the fight right now, they won't have high noon. There's places where that's useful. There are, but most players would be much, much better served by getting a generic, they have these two ults, and actually being accurate and even overestimating the opponent's ult by a little bit. Hope that answers your questions, Mercedes. If I had Temporal's Overwatch brain, I'd have been top 500 already for many seasons. Fair enough. Imagine if there was a tonic you could drink that gave you amazing Overwatch game sense. I'd buy the gallon. Buy it by the gallon. Okay. Brian says, okay, thanks. Also, when my DPS teammate is off angling, can I stack with him or find a different off angle? Preferable to find a different off angle in many situations, but if your core has an angle and the two of you have a different angle together than your team, that can be okay. Better to have more, like the team with more and bigger off angles tends to win, but, you know, two is still more than one. So if you guys are stacked together and there's not another one that's accessible to you, or it would take forever for you to get to another one, that's fine. Use theirs. And there's sometimes where you'll get benefits, like, oh, I'm on an off angle with my Sigma. Well, he's offering me this nice shield. Yeah, I'll play with him for a bit. If Blizz failed to balance off tanks for Overwatch 2 and they become unviable, which hero would off tank players find easiest to play? May? McCree? Like, uh, I mean, if they struggle like that you're thinking which tank will they find easiest to play, but off tank players and main tank players are different in how they think about the game. Like they really are. They partner really well, but off tanks and main tanks are pretty different. And let's be honest, a lot of the off tank players on ladders, if they haven't already figured out how to play main tank, how to sub in and fill as Reinhardt, or how to fill as Hammond or something like that, they've probably really are wanting to be DPS players. Not like wanting to be DPS players. They like the bulky brawler style that off tanks have. And like off tanks enforce space. You know what else enforces space really well? DPS. Main tanks take space. Off tanks aren't nearly as good at taking space. DPS aren't nearly as good at taking space. Off tanks are generally a little bit better than DPS at taking space, though flankers can be better than some off tanks at taking space. Main tanks are the best at taking space, but they're not amazing at enforcing it. They're okay at enforcing it. Reinhardt's hammer is scary, but yeah. Hog players can get flamed, reported, and avoided before the game even starts. Yeah, he needs to. Yeah, it's true. Don't play DPS. I don't want higher queue times. I hear you. That's why I don't DPS. I want to go for priority passes. It always gives me tanks instead of support, my main, and I'm an abysmal tank player. You don't queue for flex then. Queue for support. You'll still get reasonable queue times, and you're not using. I mean, unless you want to play DPS, you don't need to collect the flex passes. Yeah, who knows, Quackers. James thinks D.Va will be hit hardest. May Lucio or Brig, yeah, reasonable. Brig can be a hard transition for tank players. She doesn't play like a tank anymore. She plays more like a defensive Lucio. Is there anything else here interesting that I want to catch up on chat-wise? Blah reminding me that in less than 500 bronze, he'll now be Masters. Blah's not actually less than 500 bronze. That was our discussion about who can get to Masters, GM, etc. Okay, I think that's going to do it. If you guys have any final thoughts, go ahead and throw them up there now. Please do like and subscribe if you aren't already, as that really does help me out. We're trying to grow the channel, get a bigger audience here. The more people we can reach, the more people that will hopefully be in your games that know what they're doing, which will be less frustrating. Maybe we can make ladder like organized play. We can't make ladder like organized play, but we can dream. Or if you're looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of special events, all that good stuff. And I think it is good. Temporal, is it time to get more GME yet? Still looking into that one, Blah. Still looking into that one. Okay. Then I think we are good to go. Thanks, guys. Temporal